Okay, let's unpack this. There's uh, a really common yet pretty risky way a lot of financial institutions, especially credit unions, go about their security spending. It's a kind of financial fallacy, actually, that can leave them, well, way more vulnerable than they think. And before we dive in, just want to mention this deep dive is brought to you by Access Softtech, the premier provider of digital banking solutions. So, our mission today, really, is to explore some insights we've pulled together ourselves on how security budgets should probably be calculated. We're challenging, let's say, a widespread but kind of dangerous practice.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is how logical this common mistake seems, you know? On the surface, it makes a certain kind of sense,
Yeah.
but it's just fundamentally backward looking. It's sort of a classic case of mixing up correlation and causation, maybe, or just, relying on what's easy to count instead of what really counts.
Right, that counterintuitive thing is key because
Yeah.
what we've seen happen a lot in practice is this, like, surprisingly simple calculation, but it's incredibly dangerous. Many credit unions, when they're thinking about a new security tool or maybe a digital banking feature, they basically ask, okay, will this cost less than what we lost to fraud last year?
Mm-hmm.
It's tempting, right?
Yeah.
Because it gives you a hard number. But it's like trying to drive through, I don't know, fog by only looking in your rearview mirror.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, basing your future security plans on what you lost in the past, it's roughly equivalent to saying, well, my house didn't burn down last year and nobody broke in, so I guess I don't need fire or theft insurance this year.
Mhm.
It just totally ignores how threats change, the potential for something, bigger or maybe totally different hitting you.
Yeah.
This mindset, it sadly prioritizes reacting after the fact over proactive prevention. So the institution is always kind of playing catch up with whatever the next big threat is.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Even really smart, sophisticated credit unions, ones with lots of resources, like Patelco, for example, can fall into this exact trap. It's not about them not being smart or not having enough money. It just shows how deep this flawed logic runs when it comes to budgeting for risk, even when they have all the data they need. It's like a habit.
Yeah, it's ingrained.
Yeah.
So this raises an important question then. If looking at past losses is the wrong way, what should drive security spending? Our core insight here is that your security budget, and maybe even more importantly, the security setup of your digital channels, it should be based on minimizing your maximum potential loss.
Okay, maximum potential loss. What does that actually mean in practice? It sounds a bit abstract.
Well, it's not about just guessing a number. It means really understanding, what are your most critical assets? What data, what services are absolutely vital? Then you identify the worst case breach scenarios, what could really hurt you, and think about the cascade effect, not just the direct fraud cost, but the hit to your reputation. Huge regulatory fines, maybe, your operations grinding to a halt. That stuff can dwarf the direct financial loss. So it shifts the whole focus from cleaning up last year's problems to strategically stopping the biggest possible disaster before it happens. You prepare for the worst, and that kind of covers the smaller stuff too.
That makes total sense when you put it like that. But what are the big hurdles? Why don't more credit unions shift from that comfy historical data to this, more forward-looking idea of maximum potential loss?
Yeah.
Especially smaller ones, I imagine it feels big.
You're right. It absolutely can feel daunting. A big obstacle is just, well, habit, like you said. It's just easier to budget based on what you know happened last year. Another thing is quantifying maximum potential loss isn't straightforward, is it? It needs a different way of thinking, less accounting, more strategic risk management. But the key is to start somewhere. Identify those crown jewels, your most vital stuff. Then instead of asking, how much did we lose? You start asking, what's the absolute worst thing that could happen here? And what would that really cost us? Money, trust, operations.
Hmm.
That change in perspective, that's the toughest part, but it's the most crucial step.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, it means seeing true security isn't just about adding up yesterday's costs. It's about getting ready for what could happen tomorrow. It's about building resilience, future-proofing your whole operation, not just ticking off past losses. You wouldn't choose your car's safety features based on last year's minor scrapes. You get airbags, anti-lock brakes for the big accident you hope never occurs, but could. That's the mindset shift we think is vital for financial security today.
Yeah. Ultimately, the question for every single institution, and maybe for all of us really, is are we genuinely trying to future-proof against what we don't know is coming? Or are we just, reacting to the ghosts of problems we've already had? It's a really critical difference in, well, an increasingly complex world.
That's a great thought to end on. Thank you for joining us as we explored this, and we really hope you keep thinking critically about these really important topics.